Hello.
Hey everyone, welcome.
Welcome again to our show, Tarot for Today,
Divine Dabblings
with Oberon.
and me, Banshee. And you might notice I'm all decked out in some red today because the moon is in my favorite moon sign, Aries.
Ah, so it is, indeed. So what can you tell us about Moon in Aries?
Well, for an Aries, it's like a get up and go kind of time, as if we don't have enough of that kind of energy going for us. I would say it's even a little bit more magnified during this time. And just as a side note, for any gamblers out there like myself, I have found myself the most luckiest when the moon is in my sign and when it is bordering Aries to Taurus, actually. I think that's because I was born so close to the cusp of Taurus. I'm kind of a cuspy.
And we're joined by a fellow fire sign in
Oh,
the chat room. Jarp OK indicates that they are a Leo. So
hi,
that's
Jarp.
really cool.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming to our show today.
And I wanted to start off by showing, do you have the other cam going here? I have a little plate of fall cookies today. We're kind of celebrating the harvest moon from the previous night, and we stopped at one of our favorite local bakeries, and they have these awesome fall cookies. And so there you have one of the leaf ones
Those
there.
look yummy.
They are yummy, and we are going to enjoy one. And as a matter of fact, our producer who has helped us out today, our former producer, Monster Hunter Malik, our son, is going to be taking off soon, and I promised him one of these wonderful, yummy cookies. So, Monster Hunter, you can only have a pumpkin. But please, up there goes his
Look
hand
at
in the
that.
shot
The mysterious hand.
of our former producer who's letting us go solo
See,
now.
we weren't lying. There really was a producer.
And
Thank
he
you.
took a leaf anyway, even though I told him a pumpkin. Well, come back and change that. The leaf is mine. There you go. Thank you.
They are indeed good. They're from a favorite bakery that's near us. We picked them up just yesterday, as a matter of fact.
I'm sorry. I'm going to try to talk and eat at the same time. Not the best thing for a live stream, perhaps. But
They're a little cakey, so they're a little dry, but I like them.
let me just say, we're going to spend just a few minutes right now going over, it's going to be really quick, the 3 cards that we pulled for our Tarot for Tomorrow readings for the last 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and today. We always pull one on our Facebook and our Twitter pages, give a little tweet about it, just so you have a head start on the day coming up. It may relate to you, it may not. Obviously, we can't hit on what's going on in everybody's life, to be honest about it, but what we have to say may resonate with you in some ways, so we encourage you to check out our Facebook and Twitter pages and keep up with that. I wanted to talk about Friday's card, which was the Page of Cups reversed.
Well, first, I'd like to say hello
Oh.
to Amorous, who's joined us
Oh.
also.
Hi, Amorous. I
Hi,
didn't
hello
see
to
you
you.
coming. And so basically, the card for Friday was the Page of Cups reversed. And I know that I said to you on the side that your interpretation for that day really resonated with me in the end. I said it would be possibly some people getting some emotional bad news. You might walk away from that feeling rather hurt or angry. But I think Oberon hit it on the head for me when he said it could be about a sense of loss. Do you want to expound on that a little
Well,
bit?
I did feel that when we pulled that card, that was the Page of Cups reversed, and I felt that it could be a physical loss, but it could also be a loss of belief or trust or a sense of innocence. Somehow feeling like maybe you can't trust somebody anymore, you feel deserted, that kind of thing.
I kind of feel like both of them resonated with me a little bit. All I will say is when you said on a note of sadness, I felt really sad about certain things that were going on in my life that day. I don't want to get specific about it, but it really kind of hit me hard on Friday. And when I stopped to think about it later, I thought, it's that darn Page of Cups reversed. It really did call it.
Yeah, I guess in retrospect too, later on Friday, I felt it as well myself. So let's move on
Yes.
to Saturday.
On Saturday, we drew the Two of Pentacles upright.
Right, and I said that there was a real aura of balance that was indicated by that card, and that there was also a message of self-calming that somehow sees that may have been turbulent or choppy were now going to calm down and be easier to navigate.
And I said, it looks like you have everything under control. Maybe you might be pushing it a little bit. There might be, too many activities on your plate and you needed to find that healthy balance for the day. It was actually a pretty laid back day for me, I have to say. I got a lot done, though. I
Okay,
did.
yeah, it was. And so then that brings us to today's card, our reading that we did last night for today, Sunday. And the card we pulled for today was the Two of Wands upright. And I felt that it was a great card for a Sunday, especially if you feel it's only been a matter of time and now you do feel like you are in control. The card does talk a lot about that sense of having the world in your hands and being in control. And to me, combined with the energies of Sunday in general, the end of the week, it just sort of felt like a good place for us to take stock of ourselves and how we felt about that. And that you felt you could see the whole picture now instead of just, your own smaller aspects of it.
Well, I don't, I want to say that I mentioned that it was a card of choices that, will you stay the course on what you're doing or will you move on another path or venture or project? And it's good to have choices. I said, this is a positive thing. You have some positive directions that you can take. You just have to decide where to apply yourself. And I felt this card indicated that you would have the resources available no matter which way you chose to go. This is so ironic. This has been an interesting day so far for me because I did a lot of surfing today. I went to some other tarot readers' sites and got some insights of what might be going on this month for Aries. Some very good ones. I went to Secrets Tarot and I went to Intuitive Pathways. I do want to promote other people. We're just not in it for ourselves. And I felt their readings really resonated with me as far as what I was feeling and some of the indecision that I've been going through lately and and I think it clarified things for me. So I think this card is really playing out for me today as well.
I felt pretty good about the card for today as well. It did feel like we refined and clarified some ideas about some of my side projects, and I thought that was all really good. So I think we should move on now.
We are. And for those who have joined us who have may not been here before, we, like you, are seekers as well as readers. We don't claim to know everything, be the know-all, end-all of everything. We learn from others and we share our knowledge with others. And for those joining late, excuse me for eating my fall cookies now. I'm just getting into the harvest mentality here.
Now, I noticed that the chat room is fluctuating a little bit, so I think I should ask if there's anybody in the chat room now who would like a reading or has a question they'd like to ask.
Before we move on with other content?
Yeah, we do have some other content, but before we lose anybody, if they're here just to try and get a reading, it would be okay to ask at this time.
Yep, we do it anytime, unless we're in meditation. Oberon is going to do a little meditation for us in a bit, and once that happens, we will not answer questions during it, but we will get back after.
Yes.
So while we're waiting, and we will move on, and basically, I do have your meditation next, but we could move on to some other things. What I wanted to do, if you don't mind, I'm going to insert something just briefly into the program here. I have this bowl in front of me, and basically, this is something that I do every year. For half of the year, I keep out these little fairy slips that I created for myself, I like to call them. And they're messages just of encouragement or possibly fortune, seeking directions and stuff that I keep in a bowl. And if we have guests by or if I go to different events, I take this with me and people draw one, for inspiration and encouragement. And there are things that I have culled from various sources and put together myself, and I just put them in this bowl. And I'm going to have us draw one for the end of summer here for us so we can pick a message for ourselves and maybe a message for our viewers as well. And then I'm going to put them away, and later in the broadcast, I'm going to reveal something I do for this half of the year.
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to just pick one at random out of here and read it. And it says, oh, you may find out who's pulling the strings and working against you in some situation. Wow, could this be what my dilemma has been about? Maybe. Why don't you pull one and see what you get?
You will find healing. Trust your intuition, your inner knowing to guide you. That's very
Interesting. Now let's see if we can pull one for our audience here. Oh, I had a hard time getting that one. Well, I guess a theme might be for you for the rest of, till fall sets in is you must be accountable for the consequences of your actions or inactions. So if you didn't act, that might come back to haunt you. If you did act and acted rashly or in a wrong manner, that may come back to haunt you as well. What do you have?
Hello to Carrie in our cell.
Welcome, Carrie.
Are you here for a reading? I just pulled one for the general audience. Joy is about to enter your life. Treasure this gift, even if there may be some sorrows attached.
Aw, that's very good. And as I was saying, these are my fairy slips, and I am now, that I use in the light half of the year, I am now saying bye-bye to them. I'm going to put them away.
So before we move on to any other things in our program, we did have a newcomer here, Carrie. If Carrie wanted to ask a question at this time or to ask for a general reading.
If not, we move on with our content and feel free to stick with us. We will be doing a general group reading along the way very shortly. Okay, I emptied this bowl because I'm going to fill it later with what I use in the dark half of the year for on-the-spot divination. All right, shall we move on?
Sure, we can move on.
Okay, Carrie and everybody else in the chat room.
General reading.
Oh, you want to
Sure.
do the general reading first? Okay.
Are you monitoring the chat?
You wanted a general reading. I'm sorry, Carrie. I should have been monitoring the chat more carefully. Thank you.
Okay. And I am using the Dame Fortune cards. That's the back of them here. Hold on a moment. And these were created by Paul Hewson, who's an old-time tarot reader that I think is absolutely awesome. So what we do for our general reading for Carrie, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle the cards a little bit.
I have an idea of a 3-card spread.
Go ahead.
We could do your life at the present, your attitude on things at this time, and where things are headed. And then I will embellish this with a couple of Lenormand cards I will draw, and we will also interpret those for you to give you a little bit more insight on what might be happening in your life at the present time.
Okay, and I'm ready for you to shuffle those.
Okay. And what deck are you using today?
I mentioned it just a moment ago.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the Dame Fortune deck by Paul Hewson.
Sorry. I was looking for the general reading spread.
You're welcome. And earlier we started the program with a tribute to fall by showing some pictures of some fall cookies that were decorated to look like leaves or pumpkins or things like that. So we're a little bit munching down. Banshee is now cutting the cards.
I have finished my cookie. We're going to have to fight for that last one. Okay, so the first card indicates, and these are 3-card spreads that I have created. The first card is your life at the present time.
And that is the Seven of Swords reversed. Your life at the present time?
Yes.
Okay, shall I go first? I
Yes.
shall. I think this card indicates that there's a situation where maybe you feel something is being returned. Either you are involved in that returning process, you're returning something to somebody, something is being returned to you. It is very likely that the circumstances of what is being returned border on the realms of it wasn't taken fairly, somehow it was taken from you, or perhaps you acquired it unfairly. And so this may be an attempt to rectify the scales a little bit.
I feel the same way. I think this card is in simple, maybe a little bit simpler terms. It's about some wrong being righted, either by you or somebody who has done it to you. There is something it's sort of a card of making amends in a way, don't
Okay.
you think? To some extent.
Right. It possibly has aspects about acknowledgement of various roles in the drama, various deceptions that might have played out. But that's, I think, the larger aspect is what you said. Okay.
And the second card is your attitudes at this time. What's your thoughts? What you may be feeling?
And that is the Knave of Wands. The Knave is sort of like the Page of Wands, I guess. Um, and what was that position again?
That is attitudes, things you may be feeling at this time. Can you want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that Carrie, you might be experiencing. You might have taken in some bad news. It could be about a creative project or a business. It could be about maybe a relationship that you thought was getting off the ground. You might be taking in some bad news and absorbing that right now, and it's not making you feel very happy. Maybe a little bit remorseful. That's sort of what I'm getting from this card.
I,
That maybe, oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. That maybe you've also been experiencing some delays that have been somewhat frustrating for you.
you actually said pretty much what I could say. I mean, there's not a whole lot that I could say beyond that, but that's what it feels like too, is that there is a delay in a communication. It may be an actual thing coming in regular mail, or it may be some other form of communication. It seems to indicate news you possibly were expecting, but still you're not really liking it. You were hoping for a better outcome.
And the final card is where things are headed.
Okay, and we have another court card in the Wands. It's the Queen of Wands. This is an old school style deck, so they're calling the Wands batons, and that's sort of like um, in tribute to the French Marseille tarot deck, if you're familiar with them. The Queen of Batons, the way things end up, the results.
Yeah, that's where things are headed.
The Queen of Wands represents a person, possibly a woman, but somebody who has a great magnetic quality about them. They seem to be able to order things to their liking, and they're able to communicate how they wish to enact and how they wish to organize people. So they may be somebody who is possibly in charge of people. Maybe they work in an office and they're an office manager. Maybe they're some sort of management material, but they have a sense of being able to order the universe about them. And the universe is mostly about growthful enterprises, creating partnerships, relationships that advance, common causes, businessy kind of stuff.
Well, it definitely has a business element to it because it is kind of a fiery card. But also, it's fire is inspiration and creativity. So it's showing me that, maybe leading into the fall season is going to be a time where you are going to feel your power as far as creative ventures go, creative ideas go. In a business sense, it could be somebody who is thinking outside the box and coming up with creative solutions to problems. I think this is very positive. You're going to be very in command. And also, if you are showcasing some talent or creativity, this is a very good time to do it. This is showing some very good power in that regard. And I've also drawn a couple of Lenormand cards for you, Carrie, which kind of follows up on this a little bit, I think. the first card I drew, and I'll explain this in a minute, is the clouds. And if you look at the clouds, it has a light side and a dark side to it. And I'm going to show the next card I drew, and that is the bear. And now the way I drew the cards, the light side was facing the bear card, and that is important. So it was the dark side and be a little bit more doom and gloomy news that I would have for you. But with the light side showing, I can tell, and also the bear card is a symbol of feminine, feminine power. Or it's a power card, maternal power. Think Mama Bear.
Ursa Major.
Ursa Major. So if it, in a man's reading, this could also indicate them tapping into their intuitive feminine side and gaining power from that. In a woman's reading, it's obviously what it is, but it's also saying that that things are looking up for you as far as that goes. Your intuition is going to be very on target. The power that you exude, is going to be very strong. And this could also be indicative of maybe your financial or career power and well-being as well. So I hope this has resonated with you. Do you have any questions beyond what we've said here? Does this make sense to you in some way?
Right, and normally I don't understand the Lenormand cards, and I'm actually not getting much of a glimmer from that other than it would seem to be more or less what you said, as far as my understanding could take it. So it just sounds like maybe there's movement through a situation that provokes thought or understanding your role in a situation, resolving that, and then moving ahead to work with the particulars of growth and enterprise.
Well, and Carrie, as we look at the progression of the cards, it looks like you're going through some, time of maybe some recriminations or some retribution coming back to you or from you, something being resolved. And it may have something to do with some unhappy news or some delays in projects. And out of it, you become much stronger. The Queen of Wands is an individual who is taking command of things. So you are not letting this hold you back. You are moving forward. And I think in a positive direction. So, okay, I'm glad we could help you with that. And you're welcome to stay. And if nobody else is in the chat, we can get back. Oh, Smiling Soul has joined us. Speaking of the chat.
And before we go any further, I just want to say that I love having the ability to toggle cameras on and off because I was trying to feed my face with those wonderful cookies.
Let's show one so that Smiling Soul even
Hold on.
knows what's
Go
going
ahead.
on. Okay.
You can mention that.
This is a cookie we got from a bakery locally. We've been celebrating the harvest season today. So we've got some little harvest designs out. Got our cute little harvest plate. I think I had a picture of it on Twitter earlier. And so, yes, we've been kind of stuffing our faces on the live stream today.
We are fine and hope you are too. We thank you for dropping in as always.
Yes, thanks for joining us once again. And welcome. We've been having fun here with the fall theme. And we're going to continue that theme a little later in the broadcast because I have a little thing to show as far as simple divination things you can create for yourself. Okay. Oh,
But I
there
can't
you
talk
go.
right now. I'm eating a cookie.
Well,
Happy and good is great.
that is good. We have two things up on our plate next. How about right now, though, we skip the meditation and go to the reading for the week ahead.
Okay.
It's Oberon's turn to do our weekly reading, and his is a little bit different from mine that I do on Thursdays. And this is for our audience.
Should we do Smiling Soul's question first?
Oh, do you have a question? All right, Smiling Soul, why don't we do your question first? Absolutely. We're glad to accommodate.
Go right ahead whenever you're ready. Is that your question? These actually come from our good friends over at the River Q Pastry Pantry.
In Trenton, Michigan.
Which is in Trenton, Michigan. It's the next town over from us. As a coincidence or not, Smiling Soul, that's where I recently put up the fall fashion doll
That's
display
right.
that featured a doll, a Barbie vintage doll, wearing the Fashion Week design that I purchased especially for Fashion Week or themed as Fashion
You
Week.
know, I'm not
I
sure they
wish,
deliver, but they may take special orders. I would have to check with them. They're also on Facebook. They have a Facebook page. I don't know if they are anywhere else. They probably have a website, but I'm not really sure about that. We can find
yeah,
out for you. We'll
but
let you
it's
know.
River Q, the letter Q, Pastry Pantry, and they would be in Trenton, Michigan. So they're probably easy to find in Facebook.
I do believe they have a web page, probably with a
They
contact
do
us.
some
That would
nice
be my,
baking stuff. So
yeah.
yes, if you're absolutely looking for something different, they may be the place, and I'm sure they would be
You know,
interested in.
they're very good at what they do. They're not. I would say I don't want to say anything bad about them because there's nothing bad to say about them. They don't emphasize like cake decorations and stuff like that, but they make awesome pastries and they put great baskets together.
They do
So
design work. They do
yes, if
custom
you
work.
ever need gifts like that, they can put some really cool stuff together for you. So
To be honest, though, there should probably be a lot of bakeries almost anywhere that do that kind of stuff. So
oh my goodness, yeah, I'm kind of into baking myself, but it's been a hobby I've gotten into later in my life, so I'm not the greatest decorator in the
so
world, but I can make some kick-ass baked goods.
smiling. So I know you didn't really want to ask us that question. You probably have another question. So go ahead, give us that. Ah, here we are.
Okay.
So you had this dream recently. Interesting.
Okay.
So do we want to do that as a yes or no? Or do we want to do that with something that might give us more uh,
So do you
detail?
want to know? Okay, you want to know if you're meeting him soon. I think we're going to start with a yes no on that one, and then I'm going to see if we have something. Well, we'll see what the Lenormand says too. I will definitely
It
add
was
some
last
Lenormand
night was the
cards.
dream, Smiling Soul
Okay.
says.
You know, I've been dreaming a lot lately myself, but I haven't been able to remember them all. That's a problem sometimes for me, but this is the time of year I usually open up and have some very prophetic dreams. I was supposed to cut, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm going to give us
The card view. No
both
cats
these.
have joined us today yet, but that's okay because we could use the space today. Oh, I don't know why I'm so quiet while you're doing that. I guess I have nothing to say. I have plenty to say. We have a lot of tricks up our sleeves in the future on our Facebook and Twitter pages. I'm taking a break from the haiku for a little while, which are a lot of fun. And I mean, I have all of them written already, so that's not the problem. I just felt I would try to do a different activity to try to engage the Twitter and my Facebook audiences and see how it goes.
Okay, so the answer to the question, are you meeting the dream guy? And for anybody else that's out there watching, the dream guy is specifically somebody you've seen in your dreams, but you seem to have a feeling like this person may exist in real life and you may possibly be able to meet this person.
Wow.
Ah, okay, so the answer to the question according to those parameters are most likely yes. There's a strong chance of yes. It's not 100% chance of yes. Three of Wands suggests that maybe you are still waiting, but that there is a sense that something is in process and that you're not waiting because you're wishing, you're waiting because something seems to be planned or you are known to feel that this thing may be coming to you. Okay, and you're dreaming something like this almost every night. Well, what do you want to say?
What I want to say is that timing has always been a difficult element for me in the tarot, and I've been coming up with a system to try to denote timing of things, and it's not totally writ in stone yet. But I've been getting an impression by looking at these cards that it's possible you could meet this person, and this is going to be very broad for now, in either 3 days, weeks, months, or years. But I have a feeling it has something to do with the number 3 because we got 2 aces, and this is a card that stands out. And it's also, you have 2 wands in this reading, which I do think it means it is going to have, it's possibly going to come into your life, but, and grow into something in time. But how much time is a little bit vaguer to me. I also think the three of batons, which is wands, is indicating that, it looks as though your person might be coming in. You can, and it's interesting because this card in the Rider-Waite deck shows a man looking out kind of to sea where you can see some ships coming in. So think about this, smiling soul. In your dream world, which the dream world is so fluid, almost like water, isn't it? And so maybe this is indicating that, yes, he is starting to come to the surface and may appear in your life.
The other interesting thing about that card is that there is this hand holding
You
a
want to hold it up?
globe. Yeah, go ahead and hold it up.
Okay. There.
And it's kind of smaller, but
Am I
the man on
covering
the
the hand,
horse,
or
is holding a globe of the world. And normally we see that on more Rider-Waite decks, but for the Two of Wands, with the idea being that your investment has occurred more or less and you are set up. So over here, though, the traditional meaning of the 3 is it's coming to you, but you're still waiting for it. But now you're saying maybe there's a perception that it is the world to you, that this dream person maybe is about to manifest in your life. And like I said, the 2 aces seem to indicate it's most likely yes. So I'm thinking, along with Banshee, that it's a matter of some time still. I don't know that it's years. I think it could be several weeks to several months. And I base that on more or less intuition that I feel. What you got, Banshee?
Well, the Lenormand is interesting. I'm not sure if it's necessarily talking about, the guy in your dreams, although it could very well be. You've got the clover there, which is
Good
luck,
luck.
fate, in a way, positive circumstances, and the moon. The moon often means success, possibly at work. But definitely a sign of some success and moving forward. And I think that what this might indicate to me is, maybe in some either career area or something that you are doing is maybe where you will have a lucky chance encounter with this person, that maybe that's how it will come about.
And I only know the cards from how they feel as a symbol to me, not necessarily the meaning of the card. But I do feel there's luck here. With the moon, I always kind of feel like wherever it shows up, there's an idea of sort of mystery. So maybe the person's a mysterious person, but somehow luck will draw you more into their orbit, whether that's for purely business reasons or for anything else. I don't get a particular feel from that other than going with the idea that it is corroborating the initial reading, that it more likely seems like, the person of mystery, the dream guy, may somehow be met on a lucky encounter.
Right. And so I noticed you said you don't work.
Okay.
So it is possible then other activities that you do, whether you belong to a group or club, through organizations, through going to a health club, going places that you hang out.
Right. I mean, you definitely can't meet them if you don't go anywhere. So you
Right.
have to go somewhere. But just as a feeling that I get, if you're interested in swimming at all, because the moon sort of feels watery to me, and I'm thinking like maybe there's a gym or a place that has a swimming pool, and maybe there are singles who swim there, and there might be. I know this sounds hokey, but it's true that if you live in certain towns or
Well, wait a
communities, they
minute.
have a
She
swimming
lives
pool.
you live in Florida, right? You've
There's a
got
lot of swimming there.
beaches.
Yeah, I don't know if I can't see myself swimming in the ocean. To be totally honest with you, I'm too phobic about.
What, sharks?
Well, not just the sharks,
No.
but other sorts of, bugs or things. I'm kind of prone to infections,
Oh,
so
that's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm afraid I'll get swimmer's ear. But I do like swimming, but I can't really say it's the greatest place to meet people, especially at my swimming pool. No, probably wouldn't work there.
Well, and this is true, and this is something to consider. You have this moon and this luck card here, and so what I think we both are saying is, even in our world, magic just doesn't happen. You have to do things and set the stage, and you know this. You have to do things and set the stage to make it happen. So, hey, I'm not saying join a dating site or do anything that overtly, but you need to circulate yourself and get yourself out there if you want to meet Dream Guy. He's out there. Seems to me this is indicating something could, just like I said, click with somebody you meet in an unusual manner, in an unusual place, maybe.
It could very well be.
Yeah.
Who knows? I feel the power is enhanced by the ability to dream about it because I think that once you can visualize something, then you can start refining that image into something with clarity that is saying, that's what I want. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
really want. And really, it is about thinking things into being sometimes, isn't it?
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer in that. And someday we'll have a nice conversation, I think, on our live stream about synchronicities and also, that how I'd love to do one on, I know I've done one on love and romance, but we really haven't tackled that topic enough. I think when it gets close to our wink wink anniversary, we'll do that, but also maybe on luck and taking risks and how, and also what that's really about. How do you bring luck into your life? Is it really luck or is something else also at play?
Gee, Banshee,
Yes.
this is almost the perfect segue for my meditation today
Oh,
because my meditation is about a particular card,
that's true.
the Lovers,
Lovers.
which is card six of the major arcana. And so it speaks to us about those qualities and conditions in our lives. So we're going to do our little gentle segue now into that.
Okay, a little
And
brief meditation.
it'll be a brief meditation, honest.
Yes, and so
So,
we'll do readings. We'll resume back to readings once we're done.
and so
And
there's
why
our.
did you pick that particular image?
Well, I believe that that's the image of the Archangel Raphael. Um, so the meditation kind of draws on Raphael a little bit. So we're going to talk about that. So I want everybody to relax and get ready for our meditation. Take a few breaths, relax. Remember, I use sounds now to sort of bring us into that state. And we visualize that golden cauldron, and we are spinning and descending rapidly into the golden cauldron. And as we do so, all of a sudden we begin to rise again, to rise out of the cauldron and to meet the flaming fire of our hearts. And as we do that, the water and the heat of the flaming heart, the steam rises, and we rise up with that steam. And so it is that we come to find ourselves flying, flying far away, far, far away. And we are flying on the wings of Raphael, the angel, whose only message is love. And so he brings us to that place where we can alight after swirling through cosmos and stars and all kinds of fields and ranges of being. We alight on a tree, and on that tree we see the great white dove that represents the purity of love, the purity of love that is totally unconditional, that goes beyond all sense of conditions based on love, what we feel we need in order to feel love, how love does or doesn't measure up. It's beyond all of that. And to prove this, the dove shows us something really sacred, and it is the mirror of ourselves. And so the dove asks us to look into the mirror. As you look into the mirror, see yourself as a child. Feel yourself being much younger. What were you like? Did you have a very happy childhood? Did most things seem to be loving and beneficial to you? Or are there some things that are bothersome or hurtful or caused you pain? Did you feel like you did not find nurturing as a child? Think about those things and think about what it means to give nurturing to some other life, to help people feel nurtured and people grow as they can. And if you can do that, then you will also realize that although it didn't happen exactly for you, you don't have to make sure it doesn't happen for somebody else. And so now you're going to look into the mirror again and see yourself as you are today. Embrace everything about yourself. Look at all of the things you've done, all the things you've yet to do. And don't judge yourself for how you did or didn't do that, but accept that. Tell yourself you can do better if you need to, but accept all of this. And now we look into the mirror final time. And the white dove has come again to you and tells you that you have to love yourself before you can love others. That is the only and truest lesson of love, is to learn how to love yourself, to remember what you needed as a child, whether you did get it or not, but to know that that is what you needed, and that you have to do that every day of your life. Love yourself, and then you too can learn to love others. And so as a final token of that message, the dove presents to you a small butterfly. The butterfly unfurls and floats to you and moves to your heart. And so you take that into yourself and feel that. The butterfly is a symbol of Psyche, the goddess who understands the soul and what her trials and tribulations were. To have a soul, to love a soul, these are the important things of life. So now we return from our meditation. We take on the wings of Raphael, and we begin to return quickly to the golden cauldron, realigning ourselves with all the chakras of our body, taking a few quick, deep breaths, and returning to now. Hopefully we're all awake.
I could sleep forever. That was
Did you
very
think I was
nice.
going on for too long?
No, I think that was fine. What I did want to say, though, is that one message there is integral to the success of relationships. You know, you absolutely, and even to be ready and to be open for relationships to come in your life, you have to love yourself first. You have to be able to look in that mirror and say,
Thank you.
love who you are.
Appreciate that smiling self.
And I think that's the really first step to opening that door to be able to share yourself with another person.
So let's move right along.
Yes, you have a reading for the week ahead.
And we'll do the reading for the week ahead. And this is for our entire audience.
And this is Oberon's reading. And so what he covers is basically the physical aspects of your life in the weeks ahead, the mental aspects, the spiritual, and maybe a final card if he feels drawn to do so, to pull it all together.
Go ahead and shuffle.
I will. Well, then you are ready, Smiling Soul. So hopefully Dream Guy will surface.
I have a feel about that too, Smiling Soul. I just have a feel like it is just a matter of time that somehow this thing is manifesting. I hope it's true. Let us know.
Oh, by all means, keep us posted. I loved your picture of the moon. Thank you for posting that on Twitter. That was wonderful. As I said, I don't know why I don't think of taking these pictures. We saw such a stunning view of the moon when we were on our way back. We were having a later dinner out with friends, and it was awesome. And then we saw lightning around the moon. Boy, to be able to get a picture of that when it happened, that would have been fantastic. Okay.
So for the week ahead, this reading for everyone.
For our group.
The first card is what represented by the physical practicalities of the week ahead, and it is the Eight of Wands reversed. The Eight of Wands reversed. I don't know. What do you want to say about that one?
Well, I think physically, we're kind of feeling drained this week. Like maybe we're just about, hopefully it won't take on too much for those who are working. For those who are not working, you just may be feeling a sense of being run down and low energy. Maybe you've spent your energy on a lot of activities in the previous week and you're just needing to recoup a little bit.
There may be something going on. I've known a few of my coworkers or some friends who have been talking about feeling very under the weather, different things going on. Nothing seems to be consistent. So it could just be psychic blather going on out there. One person felt they had strep throat, but it turned out they didn't. Another person just has been feeling really run down, super run down, and once they did get some more sleep, they did feel better. So it could just be that kind of thing.
I think one other thing that I would throw out there is the possibility on a physical level that you are taking on too much too soon. Maybe that's why you're feeling so run down. So be cautious of what you're doing and pace yourself.
Okay. So our second card then is more about our mental attitudes at this time and or whatever mental thinking, thought kind of processes might be at play. And that card is the reversed Ace of Cups. So this is an interesting card because it could be saying, in my opinion, that people are feeling maybe things in a new relationship might be off to a rocky start, or they're not quite working out exactly the way you thought. Maybe you're thinking there's a delay, maybe there's miscommunications happening, or maybe there is a sense of not being able to gauge truly what the other person in a relationship might be thinking. So it could be related more to specifically love relationships, but it may also be related to just other things that are emotional type relationships in one's life.
Yes, and since this card, which is a very emotional card, has shown up in the mental area, I'm almost thinking that maybe you're thinking about your feelings a lot. You're trying to understand, on a mental level, why you are feeling and maybe acting on your feelings the way you are, and trying to process this. Maybe things haven't been going so well in certain areas of your life, or maybe the problem is you, and that's what you're trying to get to the bottom of. Is it me and the way I'm feeling that's wrong? Should I reevaluate this? Should I think about things more? Should I look at this situation more objectively? Maybe your emotions are getting in the way of clear thought.
I can't say much more than that myself. So then the final card in this reading is about the spiritual realm as related to the next week ahead. And so these are the kind of things that you may find yourself being drawn to on a more spiritual level, or that somehow that realm or aspects of that realm are having some sort of impact on your life. And it's an interesting card. It is the Nine of Swords
Oh.
reversed. And it may be that some of us maybe will find ourselves concerned with the plight or pain of others that we know. It could be people in our family, but maybe we're thinking that from a spiritual level, we are wondering if they are doing okay, if there is a sense of something that sort of separates them or inhibits them from embracing some spiritual concepts that maybe we think they need to at this time. And I don't know how to quantify that anymore. I mean, I think we all know people who we would say, oh, they're an atheist and that's okay, you know, that kind of thing. And then there are some people who maybe we just sort of feel are just lost. They're not firmly connected to the thought of atheism, but maybe they're not really seeing where spiritual values might be important in their own life. Can I be saying that correctly at all?
Well, I don't know. It's your impressions. I'm not sure I'm going there with that card.
Okay, go ahead then.
But because I was looking at the card we drew in the mental level and connecting it with this one, I'm thinking that on a spiritual level, there's a sense and a feeling that some deep rooted healing is necessary. And that maybe some of the emotions that we're trying to process here, we're beginning to come to terms with the fact that maybe they're all in our head and we have to heal ourselves. I'm really feeling this talking more about ourselves in the week ahead
You're
as a
right.
group.
I just sort of got off track there a little
I
bit.
don't know. I think what you said is very interesting because it also can indicate what he said, that there may be this lack of a feeling of maybe a lack of getting in touch with your spirituality. Maybe I would more go there, and that there's a need to reconnect. And
Okay.
and that I think could play a role in the healing process. Is so oftentimes when people are going through difficult times or emotional stress, where do they go? They go to their religion or their spirituality, whatever it may be, to try to heal those wounds. And so that's what I think may be going on here on some level as well. So I think you were not that far off base there.
Yeah, I think that I would have to go more with your interpretation and my own, but I do feel there are some minor aspects there, but that's clearly what it's about. There's a strong relationship between those two cards, so that's quite interesting.
And I don't know if you're going to draw another card or not, but I was going to say here there is no real emphasis between these cards here. There's a wand, there's a sword, there's a cup. So I don't know if you feel you need to draw another one to see if there's like
I'm
some
pretty
focus
satisfied with
or.
that. I don't really see
Okay.
the need to do that. I don't
Okay.
know.
It's just a heavy week of processing things and trying to achieve some balance and not to overextend oneself too much with this Eight of Wands reversed here. It's saying that there's just going to be, it's a time to really kind of try to focus your energies or maybe not overwhelm yourself with stuff. There's maybe a lot of things that you could do, but should you be doing them all? No, probably not.
So that was our reading for the week ahead. So we hope that each of you will get something out of that, and maybe will be forewarned and therefore well served by this reading. We're going to take a quick moment to remind people about what we do on Facebook, which is basically a reading for the day. We call it Tarot for Tomorrow. And it's posted every night on our Facebook page. And that's at Facebook TFT Tarot for Today. So we hope you'll check that out.
And don't forget to join us on Twitter, where I'm having all sorts of fun these days. Smiling Soul. I'm in the best. Okay. Through so much bad to the point of, sometimes things just have to, I don't know, you just got to ride those waves and those ebbs and flows in life. Sometimes
Thank
when
you.
you hit rock bottom, things swing up all of a sudden. I have found my luck to go that way sometimes, which can be pretty exasperating at times. Seems to me like, for example, let's just say if I win some money, all of a sudden it is taken away because some major expenses come up. But the good news about that is that and what I have to realize is, well, hey, I just want some money to cover this horrible thing. So maybe that was the purpose of it, And so you got to reevaluate why things happen in your life the way they happen. You probably had to go through those bad times for some reason, Smiling Soul, to come towards some realization of some change you had to make, some evolution you had to go through.
Well, I often feel that most of us have a life that has certain kinds of challenges in it, and some of them can be really deep and heavy challenges, and some of them maybe are not, but they just happen too often for us, and it could be for different reasons. I just think that karma has a lot to do with it, how other lives have proceeded, and what that impact might be now. Often feel that these challenges present what I call a sacred wound. And a sacred wound to me is something usually that happens more in our childhood or our earlier stages of development. And it may set the tone in a way for how we relate to very similar situations throughout our life. And usually those have to do with self acceptance for the most part, but also acceptance of the certain kind of lessons that other people may be trying to give us and whether or not we can actually resonate to those.
Well, and that is very true, Smiling Soul. And you know what? The thing that conquers that badness is the love of self. If you love yourself, you can ride the waves of what they do to you. I have to remember that myself sometimes with some of the things that I've been going through lately, but it is true. What was I going to say? It seemed like I was going to comment on something you said, and now I forgot.
The
Well,
sacred wound.
the sacred wounds. Well, oh yes, that's what I was going to say. I reviewed the Hip Chick Tarot recently on Amazon.com, and one of the things I like about what this author did, she doesn't do reversals, but she is not ignoring bad elements to the cards and life in a way, because basically she feels all emotions can be good emotions. You just have to love and let go. If you are angry, recognize it. And what can you do to make yourself less angry? We can never control what other people are doing in their lives and what they are doing to us, but we can control how we respond to that. And so I think what she's trying to say is take those negatives that the cards are showing you, and even some of the things that we show you here, and understand how to transform them as positives. And sometimes, a lot of times, we try to show you that too, how you can do that and what you need to do to get there.
And I felt, that a lot of times over the course of several decades now of doing what we do, that a lot of people in the more mainstream-ish or light-ish new age community spend a lot of time on trying to tell us that we can change our realities by just thinking positively, and that it's our own fault, in so many words, if we're not able to do that, or if our lives continually seem to suffer from the lack of positivity. And I sort of always took an issue with that, because I do feel, like you said, but maybe in a different way, that all of our experiences are really meant to teach us things, and that sometimes we do have to incorporate things that are less than desirable, that we do have to understand less than positive feelings in order to be able to work through a particular process of some sort.
100% absolutely, because you cannot always be happy. I mean, that's just not going to happen for us. And what would we learn really truly if we were always one emotion over the others? We have a gamut of emotions, and we have to learn how to manage them, experience them, and you're not going to do it just by trying. I mean, if you're going to turn a negative into a positive, it takes action to do that, not just feeling. Action. You have to process these things, and sometimes there's no easy way out. You have to take the hard road, and once you get through it, you can look back at all of that and say, hey, I survived that. I'm a survivor. I'm a winner. there's the positivity. It comes through what you do and how you manage yourself through these situations.
It is true, Smiling Soul, and for anyone else out there, that's the observations of life, I suppose. So
Getting kind of deep here today.
a
But
little
you
bit,
know,
yeah.
it's getting towards fall in the dark half of the year, and you start to reassess things like this and evaluate, what you've accomplished in the past year, what you hope to accomplish by year's end, the failures you've had, how you can maybe move in a better direction, all of that.
Well, it sounds like another segue into
Yes,
something we wanted to discuss, right? Which was the
maybe.
maybe. Okay, well, if you're
Well,
gonna
we
do
are
it,
at the top of the hour, so we're into our new hour now, and I
but
did. Oh, go ahead. I know that's what I was getting to.
go ahead. Well, it was at the bottom of the hour,
Yeah,
but
I know. Well, I did say it was fungible depending on readings and stuff.
and
So
I will
it's
take
about
the.
exactly where I thought it would be, actually. No, you cannot have my cookie. We must divide the pumpkin in half.
Go ahead, break it.
Oh, over the plate. Oh, look, of course I didn't do it right. There.
Well, you know what,
Looks
Smiling
like.
Soul, my arms are just not long enough to reach out and hand it to you. I wish I could.
Sorry about this, but not. You know how the Reese's peanut butter commercial is? Sorry, not sorry. Sorry about that. Just a joke. Just kidding. What I wanted to share with you today is some ideas that you could even do for yourself. And if you want assistance from me, I'd be happy to help you with this. But, we like to say, and with some of the exercises we're going to start doing on our Facebook and Twitter page, that everybody can be their own reader. Everybody has intuition and can do these things for themselves. So, I have a lot of tools at my disposal all the time, but I have learned to create some of my own tools as well to use at different events and just because. So, what I've done in the light half of the year, I brought out at the beginning of our live stream this bowl that I keep in the house. And it's nice and orange, so it can be used maybe in the spring and summer because it's kind of floral, flowery. It's got petals, but it could also be used in the fall because it's like the nice color of fall leaves. So what I did in the summer and the spring is I used these messages. I have them in a plastic baggie now, but I'm just going to hold this up. There are all these messages on little slips of paper that I have typed up and I have culled from various things. I've looked through quotation books, I've looked through different divination books, and I put together a lot of affirmations and fortunes and put them in the bowl, and I would take them to places. Well, not just put them in a bowl, I typed them up first, snipped them up in even sheets, put them in a bowl, and I allow people to pick randomly, their fortunes. So it's a very simple thing to do. You could pick a fortune or an affirmation a day and do that.
And on some level, isn't that then also called bibliomancy?
Well, it can be.
It's a form of it.
It's a form of it because of the way I pulled all this together. But it's just a form of creating your own divination tool with things that are out there. Like you may hear an affirmation somewhere and it resonates with you. So in your own words, you recreate it and you make it your own. And that's what I've pretty much done when I created this tool.
Well, bibliomancy specifically refers to the use of a book or some form of written material as a way of receiving messages. And the typical idea would be that people would take an actual Bible or maybe a similar book and close their eyes, think of their question, open up the book, move their fingers around, and wherever they decide to stop at, whatever that verse said, whatever that quotation was, that represented some input into their answer.
I just wanted to show the booklet of the Marchetti thing because I'm going to use it right now, and I'm just going to point my finger on something. And I just got that I'm on the book interpretation here, but it's saying to me if the dog was to the right of the book, it would be learning something about a close friend. That's exactly the line I have my finger on. So what I would intuit from this is I am going to learn something soon about a close friend of mine. hopefully it's good news. But that's sort of how bibliomancy works. You just take a random book, close your eyes, flip
And-
randomly to a page, and drop your finger on a page and read what it has to
And
tell
Smiling
you.
Souls has indicated that a friend has taught them that.
Oh, okay, very cool, very cool.
Yes. And I've heard of it a long time ago. You don't hear of it much these days, but every once in a while you find out that somebody's grandmother or older mom or aunt is doing something like
right.
that, because it's apparently just kind of an old time tradition in a way. So that is very interesting.
I knew you would come back to me when I started eating the cookie.
Oh, it's been back there for a while, so
Okay, well, no, I'm ready. Oh, it is the dark half of the year now, and fall is setting in, and so I am going to put in my new divination tool in there.
we have Cookie from Smiling Soul too. Thank you.
And as you can see, they look, well, you will see in a minute, they are fall leaves.
Well, I didn't think it was a ladybug. I thought, oh, the color's off, so it's probably a chocolate chip cookie. Thank you for sharing that with us.
I got these leaves from a craft store like Michael's or Joann's. I don't know what you have in your area. These are some craft stores that we have. And what I did was I used to be into the Norse runes a lot. And so what I did was I got a Sharpie or a nice marker with a color that would show up, although some of these are fading now on here. And I drew the runic symbols on each of the leaves. And I got multiple packs of these leaves so I'd have more than one of each of the same rune in here. And if I go to events and things, I'd have people draw one. I'd let them take them with them or give it back to me if they want. And I would just draw a leaf. So I'm going to draw one right now at random, and I'm going to show you one of the runic symbols on it. So let's see what's happening with me.
You need a bigger bowl, says Smiling Soul.
I do. Okay, there is a symbol, and it's so dark it's probably not going to be seen.
So light, you mean?
Let's see if you hold it up. I'm going to see if I
I'm
can
going to
see
try
it.
and do that.
Are you holding it up to the camera? Because I don't.
You're behind.
Oh, I'm behind. Okay,
Yes.
there it is. I can't see it.
Well, look at it
darn
in real time then.
I want to get one that really can be shown, so let's do this one. This one I think will be shown.
Looks like you got one half of the M&Ms.
Oh, it's an M, and basically that's the rune for movement, which things are going to be flowing and moving for the person who obtains that rune. So what I also did was I created a sheet with, maybe I should hold it up here,
Either way.
with my interpretations of all of these runes. I had a couple of source materials that I used, and then at events that I would go to or if people came by, I left these sheets out so they could read the interpretation. So let me give you the interpretation of the movement rune, for example. It's Iwaz, which is fire, the element, and it's movement. And it could mean abrupt changes, safe travel, starting new projects, relationships. And my interpretation, if you get it upright, and you can also get them reversed, is if it's upright, it's transition, movement, new home, changes of attitude, way of life, journey, help or advice, upward mobility, progress. If it's reversed, you might be taking a very long journey. There could be a sudden change in your life, or on the other hand, changes might be postponed. There's the possibility for blocked movement, and act when the timing is right is the message of it reversed. And so you can create your own divination tools really simply and easily, and they can have a lot of meaning for you. And I would certainly be happy to share either my fairy messages in the bag or my runic interpretations with anybody who's interested in creating their own. If you write to me, if you write to tarotfortoday@gmail.com and say you'd like the attachment sent to you, I can send you a PDF at your address.
Very good.
So this is a simple way of bringing in the seasonal energies too. You know, you could pick different mediums like this to put your messages on. You know, use colored paper for the fairy messages. You could use them at any time of year. Maybe use red and green paper, you know, and just whatever for the holidays, for New Year. Something shiny and bright for spring, maybe green for growth. You could get green leaves also, or flower petals. That's another option and idea for the summer months.
And Shining Soul says they'll ask you on Twitter.
Oh, okay, awesome. All right.
Very cool.
Yeah, and so this is just an idea to. Do you want to draw one for the season and see what you get?
Okay, is this for me or for everyone?
For you.
Everyone. Okay, for me. Okay, let's see what I get here.
Okay. Somebody's got to rein it in. That is Nothiz, which is constraint, she says with a cookie in her mouth. The element of that rune is also fire. And I think you drew it upright. I'm pretty sure when I saw it. How did you draw it? Oh, like that. Actually, you drew it reversed. Wait a minute. Let me double check. No, you drew it upright. You did.
Okay.
Overcoming stress, distress, goal attainment, protection, love magic, to get a relationship off the ground. But when it is upright, and that's our magical uses. This is how you could use the rune magically. But the actual interpretation upright is saying there are some limitations in your life right now, some restrictions. You have to learn to balance your shadow self. There may be some troubles and setbacks and some learning experiences that you're going to go through this fall. So you have to reconsider some of your plans and, hey, maybe make some amends or pay some debts off. It's a time of getting things in order, getting yourself in order, which is interesting because that's kind of a fallsy thing to do.
Well, and we've been having that conversation.
Yeah, we have. Kind of interesting. So why don't we draw one for the group now? Oh, this is neither upright or reversed. It's always upright. That is Dagaz. So for the group this fall, I think the focus is going to be on... Let me find my interp here.
So, are you asking a question? Is it work for us or for you? What do you mean? Is it the work of creating these or... Go ahead, though.
Okay, Dagaz is the rune we picked for everybody, and that is breakthrough. Fresh starts, increase, the ability to influence others with maybe, your ideas. And the interpretation is radical change in attitude is due. A breakthrough is coming. An alchemical moment. Sort of reminds me of that clover, Smiling Soul. Take a leap of faith. This is a period of success, prosperity, increase, slow yet steady growth is indicated. A positive sign for everybody. I hope that's true for me. Oh, having issues at work with... Well, yes. I've been having some issues. And some of it could just be within myself. So I'm still working that out. And interestingly enough, like I said, I visited in the early stage of our broadcast, I visited a couple of tarot readers online myself because, hey, we always need a second opinion as well. We know what we see in our cards, and we'll have to say that some of the things that came up in my cards were definitely validated by some of these readers and what they had to tell me. But I only went to their free general readings for like the zodiac signs. They did one mid-month checkups for Aries, for example. And I have to say, it really gave me a lot to think about and also some clarity as far as what I was seeing for myself and what I think I need to do from here.
Well, that's very interesting. Just showing our schedule.
Okay.
And reminding people when we're on next.
And so that's basically what we do. And I'm going to leave my little fall leaves on the table now that we don't have any cookie left to show people. We certainly polished those off. They were awesome. Of course, we gave one to our producer who has left the building, our former producer who was here showing me some Photoshop techniques
So
today.
what are we going to move on with? What item are we going to move on with?
Well, there's a couple of things. I did have my question deck, but guess what? I forgot to pull my question deck out.
Well, why don't
So-
you do the other item
I
then?
am going to do the other item first. I just got another tarot deck besides the Hip Chick Tarot. I'm very much into Ciro Marchetti's tarot decks. I notice a number of readers are using different of his decks online, which is interesting. This new one is called the Tarot Grand Lux. And again, it, excuse me, it really showcases a lot of his artistic talent. He's a digital artist mostly, but his images of tarot cards are, in my opinion, just superb. They're amazing. And thankfully, I still have them in order so that maybe I can find, I think I have most of them in order. Yes, I do. So maybe I can find some really clever cards to show you. But his colors, the symbology, just everything. The faces are so expressive on a lot of his on a lot of his cards. His court cards really, you can just fall into the images. They're so deep. I have to say that I love his decks. I work with them often, and of course, I use the deck that my preferred Lenormand deck that you mostly see us using is his Gilded Reverie Lenormand deck. The one that we used today, for example, was that deck. I use other ones as well, and I should give credit
We'll
to the decks
we'll
I'm
watch the
using.
mail for that. That will be great. Thank you for offering to send that.
Okay.
By the way, before we mention this too much, but our friend Chuck in Texas also really likes this new deck, the Grand Lux. Those are just magnificent pictures.
That's the Fool right there, and it's just awesome. And I'm going to see if I can find, let's see, I have to show the Empress because the Empress is absolutely gorgeous. Just calls to me with the beauty of nature and Mother Earth. That really epitomizes the Empress right there, in my opinion. Did I pass? Okay, I want to see. The Hanging Man. I really like this one just for the artistry of it. I love the way the Hanging Man is, positioned. The flow of him hanging there is kind of interesting to me. He's not just hanging there in a stagnant position, there's movement in some way, which also means to me that he is moving on some higher level, spiritually by, sacrificing himself in this manner, hanging on the tree. All right, and I'm going to get out of the major arcana a bit and show off some of the other cards that just look gorgeous before we move on. Also, maybe I'll show it with this card. Ciro has a thing about masks, and he explains why. And I think his use of masks in his cards in his various decks is also wonderful as well. The mystery and intrigue, and also how we wear masks in our everyday lives. I mean, I think this is some of what he depicts here in the cards, and they're very beautiful. And finally, let's see, I'm going to grab maybe one of the more difficult cards. Let's see here. This is his Ten of Swords, and I don't believe it's showing the swords actually piercing flesh there like some of the cards show. And note that the man in the Ten of Swords is bound, his hands are bound behind him, and maybe it just shows how, these jabs from other people or from circumstances, that are tearing you down, how oppressive they can really be on the spirit and the soul, and how you can almost become enslaved to that. What do you think about that?
Well, I like the symbology in that card because it does suggest exactly what you're saying. And also, too, it's just another way of looking at it without it being quite the same level of drama.
And here's a couple of his court cards. I'll show the Queen and King of Swords. Just to show you the beauty of his
He's a great artist.
and interpretations of the suits and just the symbology in each card. It's awesome. And I'm going to definitely do a more in-depth review on this on Amazon at some point. And I want to show two more cards and I am done, honest. I thought that was going to be it, but there's two more because I just saw the cups and I love the cups. And I want to show the Two of Cups for a reason in a minute. But there is his Ace of Cups, very watery, very just, how should I say this? Full of joy. That card just exudes joy to me and the happiness and the abundance you feel from a joyful, happy attitude.
Oh, Smiling Soul's got to leave us.
Okay, take care, Smiling Soul.
We'll see you in the future.
The Two of Cups, look at that. The Two of Cups is these two hands reaching out from the cups to each other. I just love that. I just think that is awesome.
You're welcome. Come back again, and
Yep, we'll
we'll be
see
in
you
touch
soon.
with you on Twitter, too, of course. Take care.
Okay, so that's the Ciro Marchetti deck. I will probably be reading with this at some point for the group here, so we'll be showcasing more of those cards. I think I'll get a review of them out first before I do that. And who knows, maybe I'll even though Oberon is here and might, I don't know, not feel in tuned, although I think he would be, maybe I'll bring out the Hip Chip Chick Tarot to do a review sometime. Not a review, but a reading with sometime in the near future. So, that's what I have for that. And we're moving on, and that's my product review. We could go into the question deck, or we could maybe try to do a fantasy forecast, which I said we weren't going to do today. But I did leave my question deck somewhere. I'd have to get up and get it. Do you want me to do that or move on?
I'll let you choose. I just threw a question out to the chat room if there was anyone else there that did want a reading to let us know.
Okay. We're open
So-
anytime to read for you. Just say the
Did
word
you-
and don't be shy. There may be people watching us on
Do you
YouTube.
want to get up and go away then
Maybe.
to get your thing?
Okay.
Yeah. Too bad you don't have another cookie you can bring me.
I don't have one. Well, hey everybody, we're back. I've got my question deck. We decided to go that route, so I got up for a moment and got it. Thanks for being patient. We're going to do a little bit more question deck today. And, we're hoping, like I said, in the future that this becomes a more interactive experience. We feel that, besides people who may feel they don't know anything about the tarot, you could be able to answer these questions by looking at the tarot images we show you as well. And we'd love your input and your ideas on what you think, how you think the tarot card we pull can answer the question. So, just taking a card at random, and what we're going to do with my tarot deck here is we're going to make a pool of tarot cards for this. And dive into the pool and grab a card to answer the question. But first, we need a question. And also, if you're listening in and you have a question that's sort of like the ones we're creating here, we'd love you to just put it on the chat and we'll see if the tarot can answer the question. So here's our first one. It's complicated.
Is it truly better to have loved and lost or never to have loved at all?
And what does it say to do?
Draw 2 cards.
One for the first option and one for the second.
I guess that's how it would work.
So,
Is it truly better to have loved and lost?
Dun, dun, dun. Now, then to never have loved at all. Draw the next one.
Interesting. They
That
don't make it
is.
easy, do they?
They don't make it easy, and that's the point. Sometimes it's a challenge, and you use your imagination and your intuition to answer the question. So the first one is, it's really better to have loved and lost. And I drew the Five of Pentacles. Sorry, shaking there because it is a shaky card. It's showing a lot of, well, if you've loved and lost, you go through a lot of pain and you feel like you've lost your life. You basically have lost everything when you lose in a relationship. It's hard to handle, isn't it? Isn't that what that's saying?
Well, to me, that card is saying that it is that true, but that the situation is not unmoving and that it is a matter of really recognizing that there is some love somewhere there for you. And that's what the problem of this card is that sometimes people don't understand that. And so they feel they've lost, but they need time to reorient themselves and realize that they haven't lost everything.
Than to never have loved at all. And I have here the Six of Cups upright. Well, that's the challenging one for me. Than to
Yes.
never have loved at all. And that's a card of memories and
Well,
happy
that card
memories.
suggests to me that it's a person who mostly is only living in their past, and maybe that's because there's a
Ah,
sense of security there by being lost in their past. Maybe it's relating to themselves as being children because they're not really able to accept some of the responsibilities of being grown up, and that means moving beyond one type of relationship and moving into more adult relationships. So, having never loved at all sort of indicates that maybe the person hasn't really been able to resolve that difference about understanding how they've moved into adult relationships, and that you can't have a childlike relationship all the time. And just in terms of practical, and maybe this is a little bit geeky, but I had a particular friend. I had him for a number of years. He was a little bit younger than me, but we shared a lot of interests. But this person seemed to me like they were never going to get older in terms of moving to more responsible levels of life. They were always a student, and they never seemed to be interested in any kind of dating. They weren't interested in anybody at all other than, going to watch geek movies and hang out with geek friends. And what that really suggested to me, because I knew the person well, was that mostly they felt there was a responsibility to dating that they didn't want to take on. And as far as I could tell, that responsibility was having enough money to take someone on a date.
oh
so
no.
so that was my take on that.
Well,
It's a
that's
little bit
interesting.
cynical, I suppose.
And you know what I might say to this, though, looking at it, because it is, okay, the Six of Cups, and, uh, maybe also it's saying if you have never loved at all, you may not you may not have any really fond, loving memories to look back upon. Because even in the worst case scenario, if you have loved and lost, there was something of value that you feel you've lost here. You feel like you've gone through the ringer and you've lost your life because it meant so much to you. And if you've never loved at all, you don't have that. So what's worse? Loving, it's hard for me to say. I almost think it's best to have gone through the experience and the pain and the trauma because you grow more than maybe you would have if you have never loved at all, which falls into some of the things that you were saying.
That's a pretty good way to surmise the whole reading there. So very interesting. I agree.
Very
Let's move
good.
on to another question then.
Okay, maybe this one will be less trying. I laugh. Let's see what else we've got
This
here.
time, Oberon will add his special touch to the
Oh,
cards.
and the question is, and yes, we will let, oh, you flipped one.
Whoops.
That's the same one we had, wasn't it?
It
Interesting.
was. It was.
What does it take? Well, that's hard to show in there, actually. What does it take to get to the top?
What does it take to get to the top?
Hmm.
I drew.
You
I'll
can
drew
draw one
Foss this
first.
time.
Yes, you may draw.
Ooh.
Oh.
Well, It's the Nine of Wands reversed. And my take on this card strongly suggests that what it takes to get to the top is understanding that sometimes you don't win them all, and that sometimes you just have to keep getting back up on that horse, I suppose, and trying to do it again.
Oh, very awesome. I like that interpretation. I might say that maybe it takes a lot of, defeats before you get to the top, and the way that you recover from, setbacks and defeat, is integral here. If you can bounce back, if you don't let, failure stop you, if you don't let defeat stop you, if you don't let the naysayers stop you, you can get to the top.
Yeah, there's not much more to say than that. It's really clear that this is really about just keeping on as much as possible.
Awesome. One more.
Yes, so we'll let you go ahead and shuffle first.
Okay.
Well, or along with me.
Oh.
Since many of our questions for people or readings for people involve
Relationships
or attractions, it is kind of fitting that we have love at first sight can bring question mark. Love at first sight can bring. Ooh, what do you call that one, Banch?
Well, love at first sight can be, I don't want to say delusional, but in other words, what I do want to say is love at first sight, often overlooks things that are hidden from view. Something attracts you to the person. There's a magnetism and there's something that is attracting you, but it's not really always revealing what is really hidden underneath the surface. And that, that comes out later as you get to know each other more. So it's true that love could deepen, and love at first sight was real, and you connected with the soul of your dreams. But sometimes, as we know, it doesn't always turn out that way.
Well, to me, it's a little bit more internal. The love at first
Okay.
sight could bring something within yourself to suggest to me that falling in love at first sight maybe throws you off your game and makes you question your sense of justice and judgment, that the high priestess is the keeper of wisdom, and yet she's reversed here. And so I'm saying that that reversed high priestess indicates somebody who's been thrown off their game a little bit, that they're not able to totally intuit or understand those deeper lessons that they normally did. The reason being they let themselves fall in love, and it's a heady experience for them. They're just quite thrown off of their normal stance or sense of balance. I kind of like that idea, at least. I don't know if that's really the truth for some people.
That's
but
very good. That's really quite good. I like that. And there is no totally right or wrong here. So if you are not a tarot reader, you wonder, how can
Claudie
I...
D.
Well, hey, Claudie D, how are
Hi,
you?
Claudie D. How
Welcome
are you?
back. We are just playing with the question deck a little bit. We're almost done.
We were celebrating fall earlier,
Yes.
and we had some fall-themed cookies that we ate.
Consumed.
It was it kind of was dry, but they were very tasty.
And I also showed how I created my own divination tool, which anybody can do. I just want to let you know this if you're interested. I got leaves from a craft store, and I put the Viking Norse runes on each leaf, and then I created my own sheet.
We like fall too.
Yes, I will explain that in a minute. I created my own interpretations for this, and the only reason I'm telling you this, Claudie D, is if you are interested in creating your own set, I can send you my interpretations for these runes as a PDF, either to an email address or however I can get it to you, and you can create your own cool divination tool. Why don't you just hold one of these up and show the rune on there?
Yeah, they're really quite clever. She just went to an art store like a Michael's or the kind of stores here where you can buy craft materials. And then she took a nice good marker and marked the symbols of the runes on there. But you could mark any kind of symbols you
Sure.
want, really.
Absolutely.
Um,
Anything that, they indicate
it's my
hearts
favorite
for
season.
love, dollars for money. And if you have things like that and you want to create your own divination tool, it's an awesome thing to do. So it's very simple to do. Now, we were just finishing with our question deck, so we can do. Oh, I
Yeah.
was going to tell you about my favorite seasons. Yes. I'm going to talk a little bit of fall equinox as we get closer to the equinox, but I have to say, I'm very much a spring equinox and a fall equinox person. There is something to me about the balance of those two, the balance between night and day, not one yet overtaking the other, the complete balance. I can relate to that. I really like it. And it seems to me that it's in the fall and in the spring that I'm the
Hi,
most
Laura.
creative and I get the most done.
Okay, we're
Welcome,
going to do
Laura.
readings now for folks that are showing up. So, Claudie D, we're going to give you a reading
We are
first if you're
fine, Laura.
interested. And Laura, we are fine. So, we hope you're interested in a reading too. We'll get to you next. So, Claudie D, did you have a question or did you just want a quick general reading or what do you want? Good. Okay, so which is it? General reading or do you have a question? And we're both shuffling our cards. Okay,
Okay.
so do we both just want to read our cards?
Oh no, I'm just shuffling mine. Don't mind me. I'm
Okay,
going to actually
so I'm
throw
going to
some Lenormand.
let the Banshee do a little shuffling there too.
Do you know what you
And
want?
Laura, we will get you a reading. We're just going to do a short one for Claudie. We try to keep them in order, so you'll be the next. You're welcome.
You'll absolutely be next on the list.
So if you do have a question, you can go ahead and think of it now, but we'll ask you to ask it, or else we'll do a general reading, and then we'll see how it goes from there. We're in the last 25 or so minutes of our broadcast, so we should be able to squeeze you guys both in. So go ahead and do that and give a cut.
Claudia D, are you working right now or in school?
You're really shuffling those good, aren't you?
I'm almost done. Well, the only reason I'm asking, Claudia D, is I think what I'm going to do, if it's okay with you, is a spread on going back to, oh, that's right. I remember, you are the one. So this one is going to be a glimpse of your personal life right now, your professional or your life as a student, and your spiritual life.
Okay, I'll let you turn those cards.
And in your personal life right now, I have just drawn the Nine of Swords upright. Have you had to move or leave something behind? Are you feeling a little...
They're talking about a move in the future, remember?
Oh, that's right. Are you feeling a little remorse or sorrow right now, or worries related to that? Because that's what I am picking up here.
Going
in
back to the
October.
university.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm feeling like there's
Some
a little
sense
bit of
of regrets
sadness or
or
sorrow or
sadness,
some
yeah.
regrets or maybe some emotional business that you feel is left hanging. And so maybe you're going to want to try to resolve that a little bit in your personal life.
I was gonna say that it feels like it's a connection to a person. That's what you're saying. But I felt that, and that's gonna probably hang there for a little while.
A little bit during the fall
you may still
season.
feel connected, but it may start. It may be open. It may not. I'm not sure. Go ahead with the next one.
In your school, your professional life, well, okay, right now there's the Ten of Cups reversed. I think I told you you're going to be off to a great start, but again, the Ten of Cups is kind of an emotional card. So I would caution you again, it seems to me if you're dealing with this matter, the Nine of Swords, that it's going to impact you a little bit in your studies, maybe you should try to use your studies as a springboard to get your mind off of this a little
Check
bit.
out what Claudia D says. This does seem to be a summation of what happened with that relationship, that it basically turned to less than happy. And you're saying, there was a thing with the energy and you didn't want him. And that's what this was saying. This was specifically about what part of her life? The
Oh,
life?
this is in her professional life right now, her studies.
So it did affect that, though, perhaps, just letting that go and how that had a sense of baggage for you, I think, maybe.
And this is your spiritual life. I'm sorry, we're pulling all reversals this time for some
Well, not
reason.
all, but
Yeah, I wish the Nine of Swords was reversed, frankly. So we have the
the Knave of Swords reversed. Okay, so this is just maybe a mini warning of sorts to actually work about applying yourself. That there is a sense that maybe you could be a little off kilter. You could allow yourself to get off kilter. You have within you definitely a reservoir of grace and diplomacy, which you really need to pull yourself back into it. Just tag into it yourself a little bit and keep focused. The Knave of Swords has a quality of focus because it's an air sign, so it represents intelligent spectrum. So just, attune yourselves with your studies as best as you can.
Yeah, I think you're right, Claudia D. And I think it's a good thing to just, I don't ever want us to get to the point of avoiding our emotions and avoiding our experiences, but sometimes a little distraction is a good thing. And studies is a big distraction, actually. So I think, you need to focus on that in your life and moving forward right now and let yourself heal before, you start getting involved in any other emotional relationships for sure. Now, I'm going to draw a couple Lenormand cards and see what they have to say. Maybe they will shed a little bit more light on this reading.
The cards we pulled don't say anything specifically about working as a student. So we'll see, though, if anything might come up with the Lenormand.
Whoa, holy cannoli.
Oh, dear.
This is all about your relationship, I'm positive. This was a swift cutting of something out of your life because that is the psych. I don't know how you say it. I have a bad lisp, so it's hard for me to say it. The sixth. And that is the cross. And the cross is endings, definitive, final endings. I think this chapter of your life with this person is definitely over.
It may have ended abruptly or as quickly as you were able to manage. There's a sense, too, because of the way I look at it with the other cards, that maybe there is a sense of completion, though, that from one part of yourself, you feel that it's resolved. There may be another part that still has some emotional baggage, but where you are with Will seems to be directed.
I drew the top card because she had the question about the student thing, whether she was going to work. And I do see it as possible. This is the Three of Wands upright that I drew. And I think that it may not happen immediately, but it looks as though you are looking towards an opportunity that will present itself in time.
Yeah, I sort of feel like this opportunity is just going to show up for you probably, as you need it. But I think that an opportunity will present itself for employment at the new university setting you're moving into. It seems to me like most things are in order for you in terms of that you are, from an employment point of view, you're considered a reliable commodity. I would think more or less is what it sounds like.
Okay.
So I'd say it's just going to happen. It's just a matter of you really, clearing away the time from your own perspective to focus on that.
Okay, so that's what we have for you this week. Laura is next on our reading list. So, Laura, did you want a general reading or did you have a question in mind?
And we do appreciate you waiting if you
Yeah,
still
and
hung
thanks
on
again,
there.
Claudia D, for tuning back in. We really appreciate it. And we gave some tips away on this live stream for different things. So stay tuned. A lot of fun things are going to be happening on our broadcasts in the future.
Okay, so Laura asks about S and if they will reconcile.
Okay.
Okay, so you are welcome, Claudia D. And as always, we hope to see you again and hear some things. So thank you very much.
I am going to look. I may have a 3-card spread for this. Let me just see. I have one that's the first card is a little insight on why the relationship may have failed, the situation as it stands now, and the ultimate resolution.
So that sounds like a good one.
Does that sound like it fits your question?
I say we should just go ahead and do that. Go ahead and shuffle them.
Oh, or I have another one. Let's see if you like that one or this one better. Say number 1 or number 2. This is number 2. The reason behind we are arguing, a friend, family, or lover, common ground we still share, and how will we be able to get over this?
Say those again a little slower.
Sure. The reason behind why we are arguing, the common ground we still share, how will we be able to get over this?
Okay, go ahead and shuffle.
Okay. So did you think the first spread I mentioned or the second one is better? Well, we could go with the first. Let's see. Number
Okay,
1.
we will go with number 1.
All right, then.
The number 1 reading it is. Shall I pull the first card?
Yeah, it's why the relationship failed. Some insight.
Okay, I have pulled a 9 of coins and it's reversed. Why the relationship failed. My sense is that maybe there was some disagreement about the living situation, that maybe somebody found it more advantageous to live together, but maybe somebody else wasn't crazy about the idea, or maybe somebody else also felt that some of the disposition of the relationship changed depending on whether they lived together or apart, i.e. that maybe financial aspects were impacted more one way or the other.
Well, I think I would add to that I sort of feel like there's a sense that maybe there was a little bit more selfishness on the part of somebody in this relationship. Somebody who was thinking more of their own needs and their own self and wasn't into what it takes to maintain a balanced partnership because they wanted their needs front and center. Does that make sense?
Right, that maybe there was an imbalance somewhere along the way and that it was more likely in terms of the
It
financial
could
situation.
be, or, just material satisfaction, what they were getting out of the relationship. That's how I feel about that one. The situation as it stands now, let's see what we've got. Okay. It's the Knight of Wands reversed. It could indicate that there is a lot of tension and anger, possibly in this situation. The Wands are kind of an aggressive sort of card, which means
I'm going to say that flat out that maybe for some reason one or the other of you decided or felt they could no longer trust the other, that there were some trust issues happening. And that there might have been a sense that maybe somebody did something too quickly without full explanation or without really understanding certain ramifications. Something like that. But it could be a little bit of what you're saying as well.
It could very well be, but I think that whatever the case may be, it seems like it has left a lot of there's just a lot of resentment maybe and anger going on right now that needs to clear the air, before you can make, if you are to make any progress in this situation.
And Laura says that happened too, so I think they're referring to more what I talked to, but in general, yeah. Okay, so third.
So basically, what's the ultimate resolution of this? Okay, may I start with that?
Yeah. It's the Six of Coins reversed.
And it is reversed, and I think what I'm intuiting here is that, there's not a nice even flow of give and take here. Somebody is holding back from giving of themselves what it needs to make the relationship work. Somebody is not willing to give enough to make a relationship work. Whether they're holding on to attitudes that need to change, whether they're holding back on their feelings and their love for another individual, for you, Laura, or even vice versa. If it is you that you are holding back from giving of yourself to another. That's what I see here. How would you interpret that?
Well, I kind of get that too. I do in a way, but I'm also getting a little bit the sense that maybe there were some aspects here where somebody was maybe being a little bit, I don't want to say deceptive, but was sort of trying to create a little bit of a different feel or atmosphere, maybe trying to affect
There's no communication. I see.
a persona that just didn't quite match with that. So
I am not seeing a lot of positivity there, but I'm going to draw
yeah,
a couple of Lenormand cards to see if they give me a little further insight, Laura. And then I'm going to tell you what I think, how this should proceed. And remember, we are not relationship counselors or whatever. We're just going with our gut on this. And of course, the tarot is here to just, kind of give you advice and make you think a little bit about what you might need to do and where your mind is at.
tarot never is an absolutist kind of thing. Just because we said we saw those cards doesn't mean that's absolutely going to happen. It's more likely that giving you that information maybe allows you to either reflect inwardly on what you can do to change that, or to just actually give you ideas on how to do that.
Okay, considering the negative cards we just kind of drew here for you, Laura, this is somewhat interesting because these are very positive. And I'm going to have him show you the cards and then
Laura
I'll
says
explain
thank you
them.
for the Lenormand.
The 9 is the bouquet. It's flowers.
That's pretty.
And the other card is, and I read them in pairs, is the rider. Basically, she's a rider. So what you might think I'm talking about here is news. There is news and a gift. Now, I could look at this several ways here. What I'm thinking it means, just from the get-go, since there's not a lot of communication from what you've told me, that maybe the way to achieve progress here is to try to break the gridlock in some way. If you are looking for a resolution, if you are really looking for a reconciliation, maybe this is saying to me, you're going to have to make that first move. You're going to have to communicate your intent that you want to talk about, and the gift is maybe, in that respect, the gift is the gift of giving somebody the opportunity to come back to the table and make amends and save a relationship that might be worth saving. So,
okay, as I have explained for previous readings, I don't have the experience of understanding the Lenormand the way my partner here does, but I do relate to the symbols. And was this the first card?
Yes.
Yeah. So to me, this does feel like it's a gift. And so understanding the situation that we've seen and that you filled in some of the gaps for, it seems to me like maybe there is the possibility that you should make a first attempt at breaking the ice in some form. But I'm not sure what I feel about the writer, because I do feel that the writer may indicate that you should also feel free to just merely move on as well. And so the thing is that maybe what I'm seeing is that there's a sense of a choice for you, that maybe you could decide on your own intuitions or on your own sense of the situation that you could make one more attempt at that, of some sort of reconciliation or attempting to communicate. Or you could just say, nope, it's time to move on.
Exactly. So since I'm not seeing a lot of positive here, and you, of course, are the best judge of, the value of this relationship in your life and if it's worth going back and trying to resolve the issue, I would say you have to make that first step. You're going to have to go back and make that first step. And I would also caution you this way. If there's any danger element here, which I don't see in the cards, but if there's anything, if there's some hostility, some something that you're worried about in that regard, then don't go back, please, really reevaluate things. But what I'm sensing here is that, yes, it might be time to move on because Oberon is actually right. This card can also indicate movement away from something, and it could be indicating, you have now the chance to move on to something better, getting these two cards together. So it is a possibility, but I'm saying since I see that you kind of feel like, you'd like to know if there's a chance to reconcile, you're going to have to make that first move in order to do so. Somebody has to make a move here because the Six of Coins is indicating, no, but reversed is indicating nobody's doing that. Somebody's going to have to do it to make it happen. Go ahead. Do you want to
Well, I
add
was
something?
just going to pull a final card to just say that since I understand you feel like you are going to try to see if you can communicate what that might merit, what that might bring to you. So hopefully this will be a nice card here. I'm just going to go ahead and do that as I think
You're
about the
picking
situation.
randomly. Okay.
And I have pulled the Five of Cups.
And it's reversed.
And it's reversed. And the Five of Cups sort of, to me, indicates maybe the possibility of a reconciliation. It may be that the relationship might alter, though, and it might have different overtones. Maybe it might be more casual because it might need more time to build up the levels of trust. Although we've heard things mostly from your perspective, it would also be wise to consider that S has a perspective too, and that maybe it is about communicating and trying to figure out where your mutual differences and solutions lay.
I also think that this is going to confound things even more for you, Laura, but also this is a card of new opportunities possibly sprouting up for you as well. So I would say this. You need to come to terms with this relationship in order for new opportunities, the door to new opportunities to open for you. I think that if you've finally done everything that you can to resolve this, that you have to just finally close the book, close the door on this element in your life and be ready to open the door to a new opportunity or adventure. Sometimes it takes that in order for new things to happen to you. You have to say, okay, this isn't working, I'm done, and move on. But he is absolutely right. This sometimes also means that there is something left and something of value that you may be able to go back and rekindle.
And I just see that it would be slow and that it might be altered at first. And so to turn it back into what it may have been or what it was may be another question, another sense of waiting for things to progress in that manner.
I hope we've helped you. It is a little confusing, I must say, but I do think one thing's clear.
Yes, it's possible that maybe this moving on is about something
Yes,
else.
because it is a cups card and cups deals with the emotions. So it's opportunities to, have a new relationship
Thank
potential
you.
here.
We appreciate having the opportunity to read for folks like you, for Claudie D, for Smiling Soul, of course.
As well as provide some programming, which we've also done today. So feel free to join us again. Subscribe to our channel so you can get notifications. We live stream twice weekly, and we're on Facebook and Twitter. So by all means, check us
Earlier
out.
today, one of our fellows in the chat room, and that was Smiling Soul, indicated that they were working on their own deck of cards. That's been talked about before with us too. So we would just like to throw out that screen there that anyone who is in the process of designing decks or has copyright holdings over certain decks and would like to see those decks here
On our live stream.
Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you so much, Laura.
We love doing what we do, so we're just not gonna change from that. We're gonna keep doing that,
We're going to keep on keeping on.
and we have so many people to thank. So we're running our credits right
Oh,
now.
we're running out of time. I see we're almost done for the hour.
We have a wonderful granddaughter who has helped us with some of the artwork, as well as our daughter-in-law has helped us with lighting and other production issues.
And our son, who goes by the handle Monster Hunter Malik, has helped us a lot with our production and getting our camera angles and just us to learn our broadcasting software. So many thanks to them. And we will see you next week same time, same place, but we'll be seeing you Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us.